On today's episode of Locked On Cubs, I have found my new home. I don't want to see anything. I got Cubs, Cubs, Cubs. Everybody could be happy. And we are going to discuss the potential of an Eric Hosmer diet soda deal. So come on and join us on this first episode in 2023.
Are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into 2023 and welcome into Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Well, this is a Tuesday episode for all the audio peeps and those of you joining us on YouTube. Please continue to spread the word about the show. It was so great to hear all the kind words from the last episode of 2022, and we're locked and loaded and ready for this year as well. Sam is too, considering his new setup, and he's making his debut from his new place. Also some new clothing, at least the hat from the Walkers. And Sam, how was your New Year's? And happy to see you in your new digs.
I forgot to do you, the listener.
Right.
You're supposed to remind me of that stuff.
I need to remind you. Yeah.
Come on.
I know. I produced the show. I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's good to be here, Matt. You saw the place last night. It was nice to spend some time with you.
Yeah.
Feel good. I want everybody to be happy about my Cubs support. I got some more Cubs stuff that we'll be adding throughout the year, and potentially an Eric Hosmer bobblehead.
Yeah. Well, speaking of additions, the Cubs might be at. I think you might be able to get a Royals one from maybe 8 to 10 years ago.
Can I get a bobblehead that just pounds the ball on the ground to the right side? Oh, you know what? I might have a Hayward one from 2017.
All right, I'm not going to let you disparage Eric Hosmer just yet. I don't know if I appreciate.
I have a lot of stuff on Hosmer.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this player a lot. Eric Hosmer could be a Cub before the end of this week, as we're in the first week of January here. Jed Hoyer said before the holidays on 670 The Score that he thought mid-January the team would pretty much be set for all intents and purposes. So the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think we're going to see those couple more moves. And the first one of this last couple could be Eric Hosmer, a person that could play first base, could play DH. He was the face of the franchise with the Royals. World Series winner in 2015. Of course, had a big free agent deal with the Padres prior to 2018. But since 2018, he's been average. And certainly the ground balls, as Sam is inferring there, he does ground out a lot, hits a lot of ground balls. But there are some pluses to him as well. Sam, there's a few different areas that we're going to take this. My first one, though, just to kind of get it out of the way, or maybe you want to develop this more, would be, do you match up Hosmer with Mancini? Are you one of those fans that's doing that? Because I could dispel that pretty quick for those of you who are. Do you look at this as like you would like one over the other, or not necessarily at this point?
I look at this as two totally different things.
Okay.
I'll give my take early on, and then we could discuss it. There's two perspectives of bringing on Eric Hosmer for me.
Okay.
There's the black and white perspective of it's not good enough. It's a diet soda signing. And if they're talking to Eric Hosmer right now, they should have done better with Abreu, better with Conforto, better with potentially Mancini, better with maybe a Longoria or a Drury. Okay. And the reason I say that is just look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. Last season, He batted .268, which is fine, a .334 on base, a .382 slug for a .716 OPS, which is porous. His ground ball rate is through the roof, near the top of the league. And this is a team that needs power. He hit 8 home runs last season. Since 2021, he has hit 20 home runs in 2 seasons. Now, that's one perspective to look at it. The other perspective is at least understanding what the Cubs' plan is here. And that is, I think I'm starting, I had somebody, a friend of mine named Zach, who listens to the show, tweet at me over the weekend. Is like, can you explain me what the Cubs' plan is? And what I think the Cubs' plan is, I know I'm getting a little bit too big picture here, but it'll come back and relate, is to wait another year to really see how PCA, Alcantara, Canario, Davis, and these guys come along. And in doing that, put out a competitive product in the meantime. And in the meantime, experiment and sample with these new rule changes, right? The pitch clock, Drew Smiley, Stroman, Tyone, Hendricks all work very, very quickly. And now you go get a guy like Eric Hosmer on the surface, as I said, not something that I'm really going to get too excited about. But when you follow that plan, what's the big offensive change this year? There's no shifting, or you can't have multiple guys like that on one side, and Eric Hosmer pounds ground balls to the right side. So maybe they think they're going to get an extra 35, 40 points on his batting average. Who knows? I understand what they're doing, and in that respect, I could respect the move. But even with that being said, as I said on the show before, I just feel like that's very small market thinking, and just trying to find these shortcuts to compete without having to spend top dollar. But my hope is that they're just doing that because they want to wait one more year in the lower systems to see what you have in these guys, and then they start spending top dollar. So that's my 2 perspectives. 1, don't love it. 2, understand why they're doing it.
One of the reasons they may be doing it, as you noted, was the shifting, and maybe that, that raises his production really in theory.
Right.
Did you know that 3 of the top 10 teams over the last 5 years who shift, 3 of the top teams that shift the most reside in the NL Central? In the Cardinals,
Milwaukee.
Pirates, and Brewers
Milwaukee.
are all top 10 in baseball. And
Right.
so now you have 3 of the teams that you play the most often who now are going to be unable to do what they've done the last several years.
Well, unfortunately, you don't play them the most often anymore.
Well, you do play them the most often, but not as much.
Oh, it's yeah, you're right. So was it 12 each now?
I think it's a dozen, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
12 each instead of the 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get those arguments. There's also something to be said about the cost difference, although I feel strange and kind of grimy about discussing that because this is the number 3 market. And, if you have a strong conviction about Trey Mancini, even though if you look at the numbers, at least slash line, Hosmer actually projects better in 23, and I can give you that if you want. But Mancini might get a multi-year deal. He might get a 2-year deal. The Nationals are in discussions with him as well right now. So he might return to the East Coast. And the AAV for him would be like 7 to 10 M's, where Hosmer, the Red Sox and the Padres paid him to not play.
Right.
So you only need to be on the hook for $700K, the minimum. But if he has multiple suitors, maybe it goes to 1 or 2 M's. We'll see.
And I don't like either of them. I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't really like neither of these guys.
Right. Neither move the needle.
Yeah, and really briefly, Matt, and I want to just get everything out in the open, and we can discuss in detail. There is a Mervis portion of this, right? Because Hosmer is a lefty. I personally think that means Mervis is going to start opening day at DH. I think maybe they're not as confident in Mervis's defense. And if you're going to build your whole team around defense, right, you have Horner, you have Swanson. That's why I think it's so imperative they figure out third. And then you really want to be able to make sure you have a guy that could dig out balls at first base consistently. So that could also be part of the Hosmer part.
All right, let's discuss more about that, maybe some matchups, and also think about Matt Mervis's role on this team coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every pro and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all. BetOnline.net. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs. We're going to continue the Eric Hosmer conversation. Let's zoom in a little bit more, Sam, on the Mervis debate, if you want to call it a debate. And, you know, right away when I saw the John Heyman report about on New Year's Eve about a deal, it's not done, but it looks promising, to use the exact quote from Heyman. I wondered about David Ross in his manager's office, because I do have some curiosity, if not a level of concern, about how that lineup would be sketched out.
Sure.
And if the signing does become official, I'll update my lineup and I'll put it on the bottom of the screen like we've done the first couple times.
Yeah.
But I feel as though there is now multiple combinations you can use, but in no way, shape, or form, if he's ready, should this diminish or decrease Mervis's plate appearances. And I'm not saying that he's going to be blocked. I do think this could help the team in terms of rotations and Wisdom, maybe more at first and third, and a Wisdom Mervis DH combo or something like that, where Hosmer and Mervis then rotate at first and Wisdom stays at third. So there's all sorts of combinations to consider. But I do think that Hosmer actually, in a strange way, even though they have the same handedness, they're both lefties, I think they could complement each other better than you might think. And I think the whole Hosmer situation, excluding his power, which he basically has none of anymore and hasn't for 4 seasons, I think he can benefit this team. And you mentioned the defense before on the other side. 4 Gold Gloves. He's been pretty solid there the last couple of years. And the big concern with Mervis right now is how he does against lefties and off speed. And I'm just going to give you Hosmer's stats, just traditional slash line against lefties.
He killed lefties
past year.
I think he hit like 325 last year versus lefty.
324, 359, 414. Now, again, Hosmer is 0 power. Hit 1 home run against a lefty.
Right.
But in terms of average and on base, he's
better
been okay.
Lefty. He's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I just noticed that. I will say, though, I do have to disagree with you off the air. You and Nick both made comments actually almost around the same time, which was kind of weird because I was texting you as I was with Nick when I got the Hosmer news. And both you right away said, well, there's no guarantee that Matt Mervis is on the opening day roster. And I find that false, very false. I would be extremely disappointed. I would say to the point I would be absolutely shocked if Matt Mervis isn't not only on the opening day roster, but starting either at first base or DH on opening day. His year and his age, it is time for him to make that jump. It would make no sense why they had him play in the fall league to prove himself even more if they weren't planning on having him in the big league roster, unless his spring is just a total, absolute abomination. I see him on the opening day roster. To your point with Hosmer, it's a great point about the left-handedness. I still don't love the idea of having a lefty only play against lefties. So meaning if Hosmer and Mervis were to platoon, I believe this deal means, if it happens, Hosmer and Mervis split time at first base, but it makes Mervis the DH, the power-looking DH you're looking for. Hosmer's your first baseman. Maybe Wisdom gets some reps there. We still don't really know what they're going to do at third. There's Wisdom, Morel, and I keep hearing from people and articles they like McKinstry a lot more than we think. So I'm not sure that he can make that throw. Consistently, but those are the three options. We all know the middle infield. We know Happ. We know Bellinger. So they need another bat and someone to play DH. So this makes sense in that regard. Right. I was just hoping for a Conforto type situation. But again, we have to emphasize, I think first base defense is underappreciated. I think everyone's like, oh, well, you just stick your worst guy out there. There's bases loaded, 1 out, and you get a ground ball to short to turn a double play, and you're up a run. And the second baseman one hops the throw, and it's a gettable scoop, and you don't scoop it. That's the difference between winning and losing a game.
Yes.
So if they don't feel good about Mervis's defense, that defensive insurance makes a lot of sense.
It's exactly what it is. It's insurance. And I actually like the move if it happens. And maybe the defensive debate is the debate that they're having on Clark and Addison in the offices. Maybe, okay, Mervis, they are penciling him in. And I'm being a little more maybe with a critical eye about, maybe he doesn't make the opening day. Also, just real quick to support your point, I would hope, unless you use the word abomination, maybe that's different, but I would hope that actually a bad spring doesn't prevent him making the team.
Right. Yeah.
How much can you really take from that?
Right, I'm just saying if it's just like
but I could see that. Yeah,
he's 1 for 34. He's 1 for 34 with 22 strikeouts or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I just I think you're at the point of your rebuild, if you will, that you have to give Mervis a shot, and a real shot, a 2-month shot, playing almost every day and seeing what you have in him. Because if you have something with him, you may have something with him for the next 5-6 years. So, we always talk about ceiling, and that's kind of, a great example of it.
Yeah, if he's up, he's got to play every time against a righty, sometimes against a lefty. That has to happen. If he's up, you have to play. And I think there's the different combos then with Wisdom and Hosmer where there would be a pretty fine rotation. Sure. And the Wisdom and Mervis then, maybe power in terms of Hosmer's toolbox isn't as much of a concern because the projections really favor Mervis and Wisdom in that category entering 2023. I also think that there is just some rust on Hosmer in terms of people's perspective, only because of the deal he signed.
Right,
and we do that as fans, and
sure.
The
guy's overpaid. You get bothered by it.
And he is. He got paid a ton of money after the Royals days and hasn't performed that well. To which I would say, big deal. You got to look at it now on Cubs Island. And if they do sign Hosmer, I would love to talk about the other things too, which I would call separators or approach. But we'll get to that in the episode where if and when he does sign, because nothing but good things in terms of his presence in the room. So
yeah, you're a big fan of that. Now let me ask you this: as the executive pro on this show, if they do announce a Hosmer signing, is that live worthy in your eyes?
No.
Okay.
No, we'll do an on-demand episode if and when that happens.
I agree with you, by the way.
Okay, good. Well, I wasn't going to take your input too much anyway.
Sure.
Just kidding. No, that's a joke, folks.
No, it's fair. It's fair. That's fair.
Okay. Hey, by the way, right now, I just want to let you know, and you look great, by the way. But I have to tell you, the Cubs poster is really what's doing it for me right now.
Yeah, and
it's so good.
And I might have to, before we get to the next segment, take off my hat because it's hot. And let me tell you, that's good because that's what a winter hat. A winter hat is supposed to be hot. Right. But listen, 2023 is going to be a big year for Cozy, Olber, and Swanson.
That's right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Very nice. All right. Coming up next, we're going to hit you with some trivia. related to a couple free agents that the Cubs have signed this offseason, and we'll do that coming up next. Are you looking for a delicious treat but don't
Yes.
want all the fat and calories? Then you have to try a Built Bar, folks. We just got through the holidays, and I know that my goal, and I think I can speak for Sam, our goal is to eat a little bit healthier this year. And if you're like me, when you want to eat healthier but don't want to compromise taste, then I've got just the thing for you, Built Bar. It's actually healthy. It's actually tasty. Covered in 100% real chocolate. And there's some unbelievable Built Bar flavors right now. We have churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. Built Bar has so many options for you. And we've been talking about, of course, ordering from built.com. But right now, here on Locked On Cubs, we have some breaking news about Built Bar. You can now get Built Bar at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk to the pharmacy section, the snack section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. That's the 3 flavors in Walmart right now. Built Bar, available in Walmart, Sam's Club, or Built.com. Get yourself one today. Welcome back in to Locked On Cubs. Yes.
Just want to comment on something real quick, just on your end. You talked about wanting to eat healthier in 2023. You could start by actually eating.
Right. No, I've done plenty of eating.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, December was a big eating.
Because there's sometimes you go about 18 hours without digesting.
Right. I'll occasionally, you're right, but I didn't do that much in December. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we could tell.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you're keeping track of that. All right. So, my first. Oh, I should introduce this as any good host would. I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
We're going to introduce between now and opening day. We're going to have our usual reoccurring segments, but then we're going to have some new ones as well. One of those is Cubs trivia, and so we're going to debut that on this episode right now. And we're going to involve 2 free agents that the Cubs signed in order to ask these questions. Okay. So for right now, I'm going to be asking the question. Everybody at home, along with Sam Olber, is going to be deciding to answer this question. And I do have multiple choice for each of these as well. Unless, Sam, you would like to just answer it on your own.
Well, we'll see if I know it.
Okay. New Cubs reliever Brad Boxberger logged at least 70 appearances for Milwaukee in each of the 21 and 22 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That got us thinking, who was the last Cubs pitcher to work in at least 70 games in back-to-back years?
Wow. I need multiple choice for that, for sure.
A, Lee Smith. B, Carlos Marmol. C, Mitch Williams. Or D, Steve Cishek.
Whew. It's not Marmol. He didn't pit. There's no way he got to 70 back to back. Lee Smith and Mitch Williams were before my time, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know their appearances. That would be probably a big stretch. So I'm going to go with Steve Cishek.
And we're going to give the listeners at home a couple more seconds. Sam, you are correct. Oh. Steve Cishek, who just announced his retirement actually prior to New Year's. Cishek appeared in 80 games for the Cubs in 2018, then logged another 70 in 2019. He is one of 9 pitchers in Cubs history to work in at least 70 games in consecutive seasons.
You really prepped for this. I mean, let me just real quick take people inside the panel for a sec. When we come on, I didn't even know we were doing trivia. and this is just the most thought out thing. I feel like I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Regis Philbin.
Is that RIP? Is that $100?
No money for that. So.
Oh, got it. Okay.
All right. We're going to get a second question before we get out of here.
Great question.
And thanks for whenever and wherever you may be listening.
I mean, that was excellent.
Dansby Swanson finished the 2022 season with 25 home runs.
Yep.
And 99 runs scored.
Mm.
Who was the last Cub to hit those marks in a season while playing most of their games at shortstop?
Ooh.
And this one is with a tip of the hat to Cubs beat writer Jordan Bastian of MLB.com. I got this one from him.
Mm.
Dansby Swanson finished the 22 season.
So before you give multiple choice, and I'm going to need it,
Okay.
I know in 2016, Addison Russell drove in 100, or right there. But it's not driving in. It's runs and homers. You said.
Yeah, runs scored.
And I don't think he hit 25 home runs, so it's not Russell. Okay, so I mean, obviously Ernie Banks hit those markers, but is there somebody in between that played most of their games at shortstop? Let me just think off the let me just take myself and the audience through.
And that's actually a key part of the sentence when you get the multiple choice, although I shouldn't give it away like that. But
okay, I'm just thinking modern. I mean, Sandberg was second base. Terrio never did it. Castro never did it. 90s, Jose Hernandez. I don't think he ever did that. Blauser. I feel like I'm missing one.
What about just the last 5 years? The Cubs shortstops. You already mentioned Russell.
Oh, yeah. Geez, Javi.
Right, but the wrinkle with him would be what in the part of the sentence of the question?
Yeah, runs.
Yeah, or positionally.
Right, that he didn't play enough games at short.
Right. In the years that he was that productive.
Well, it's not. The answer's not biased. That's too obvious.
Okay.
So, all right, go ahead.
Man. All right. Well, do you want to give a guess without multiple choice?
No, I think I want to get it right.
All right. A, Ernie Banks.
Yeah.
B, Javier Baez.
Yeah.
C, Addison Russell, which you already did all those. Or now you have one more wrinkle. D, Shawan Dunston.
Sean Dunston. That's who I was forgetting.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's so if I were to use the 50-50 and who you want
this
to be
is like a game show.
Yeah, it's Dunston or Banks.
Okay, good job.
And
so I will confirm the elimination of those options. So now we're down to A and D.
And I know Dunston led off, which means he probably got the runs. The question is did Sean Dunston ever get to 25 home runs in a Cub uniform? Here's the thing. With these questions,
okay.
because this is important to me that I don't miss this. I feel like Ernie Banks is too obvious. Like, we know he did it so many times. I'm going to say Sean Dunston. Final answer, Rage.
Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, hit 47 home runs and scored 119 runs in his MVP winning season in 1958. And that was the last time that happened.
Wait, let's just look up Dunston. Okay. No, I just want to see how close I was. I overthought it. I mean, I knew Banks did it.
Right, but it should have been that long.
He never got close to 25 homers. Oh, what a terrible guess.
Okay, well.
I really overthought it.
Yeah, you did. You overcooked the corner, as they might say in driving.
He never even got to 80 runs. Oh, no.
Well, it was still a good episode nonetheless.
I knew Banks did it. That's obvious.
Right, but you didn't think he would be the last one to do it.
Yeah, the last one. I mean, he played 50 years ago.
Right. More than that.
Oh, that's disgraceful.
Yeah. We'll forgive you. All right, everybody.
Edit that out?
No, it's got to stay in. Thanks for joining us for the first episode of 2023. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and smash the like button. Please smash that like button. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods on the audio side. Hello to everybody who is listening to us. And you can drop us a text, 312-834-4634. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now make Locked On Sports Today your second. Host Peter Bukowski brings you the biggest stories from around the world in 20 minutes. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Fun first episode of the year. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy, and this is Locked On Cubs.